What if I told you that investors into the largest asset in the entire world, gold, are quietly rotating into Bitcoin for the first time since 2020, right before Bitcoin went up 600%? All the signs are here for a repeat of one of the biggest moves of any asset in history. Just like Bitcoin has evolved since 2020, becoming an institutional grade asset with ETFs and ties with Wall Street, so too has gold, thanks to a completely game-changing set of innovations by none other than China. While history tends to rhyme, this is nothing like your COVID 2020 pump. This is a battle for humanity's store of value, the analog king versus its digital heir, hard metal versus code. And of course, if this rotation between gold and Bitcoin happens, it will be one of the biggest wealth transfers in the history of the world. Welcome to the Great War in this monetary revolution. For over 5,000 years, gold has been the one enduring store of value. Not only do we wear it every day, but as currencies rose and fell, as empires came and went, gold was the one constant between them all. It's so simple to understand. All humans on Earth innately have a desire to hold and possess gold. It's scarce, durable, and universal. It's the one thing that everyone on Earth agrees holds value, even if they can't agree on anything else. Central banks hoard it. Wars have been fought over it, and your grandparents still tell you to buy it, just in case. But here's the thing. Some of the attributes that made gold so valuable, that made it so important, are some of the very things holding it back today. Gold was money for empires, but Bitcoin is money for the internet. Gold can't move at the speed of information. It can't be divided and transmitted across the world in a minute. It can't be verified instantly. And while of course it offers physical scarcity, it also offers a ton of physical friction. Now, of course, gold has run the world, and after World War II, it ran even the United States economy with what we called the gold standard. However, in 1971, Nixon changed everything. After 1944, the United States had every dollar tethered to gold, so you could actually redeem your dollars for physical gold if you so chose. That was because of the Bretton Woods Agreement, where all the nations pegged their currency to the dollar, and the dollar pegged itself to gold. This is how the US dollar came to run the world. However, in 1971, Nixon changed everything by going off the gold standard and initiating the new form of the US dollar, the fiat dollar. Since that moment, gold has soared in price, representing a stable point of value in a world in which fiat currencies continue to crumble. But of course, a new form of scarcity arrived in 2008 in the form of Bitcoin. After the great financial crisis of 2008, a new system emerged. Crafted in the wake of financial collapse, Bitcoin was maintained to do one thing: represent a fixed supply of decentralized and incorruptible money. It was forged in crisis and born out of distrust for banks, money printers, and really the entire capitalist system itself. While gold is scarce because of physics, Bitcoin is scarce because of math. There will be 21 million coins forever. No vaults, no middlemen, no new supply emerging each and every day through gold mined from the earth, no asteroids that Elon Musk can lasso and bring down and mine for all of its minerals. No new supply can ever be created. Whereas gold, we don't really know the supply. Bitcoin, we do. No middlemen, no permission needed, just every man and the code. Comparing both head-to-head, Bitcoin is way better in the form of scarcity, divisibility, transportability, verifiability, and of course, the most important, censorship resistance. Now, you could say that the only thing gold has left is its nostalgia, but actually, that's not true. Because this year, a new push, a new excitement around gold has been awakened by none other than the great and mighty China. Now, of course, you've probably seen the headlines that gold has been parabolic, reaching a price of $4,300 per ounce, the highest ever on record. And while this chart is so clearly parabolic and anyone with eyes could say, hey, this thing looks like it's topped out for a while, the truth is that gold's rally is being pushed by something much bigger. This isn't just FOMO. This isn't just retail buying the rock. This isn't just a transition of assets. This is a carefully constructed plan by China trying to replace all money with gold as a way to distance itself from the US dollar. You all know that Bitcoin is a superior form of money to gold, but you might not know that China has been working steadily to evolve the way that gold transacts, to evolve the way that gold is stored, and to make it a true competitor with the digitally native Bitcoin, and more importantly, to make it a competitor with the US dollar itself. If you're not familiar, there's a group of nations called the BRICS country, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Those countries together have formed an alliance with China at the center, attempting to de-dollarize the world and to move away from the US dollar hegemony that has run the world for the past nearly 100 years since the end of World War II. Now, in reality, everyone knows that the Chinese are currency manipulators. Nobody trusts the yuan, and that's made it really tough to get off the dollar, which, despite its faults, is the best piece of toilet paper in the fiat currency industry. That is until China established what they're calling the Golden Corridor. You see, China has been trying to get off the dollar for quite a while. They realized that there wasn't enough trust with other nations. They've been trying to use gold to get off the dollar for quite a while. And the way they did this was offering loans backed with the yuan. And they even offered that the yuan could be redeemed for that gold. But when other countries asked, hey, where would the gold be stored? They would always respond, China, which of course was not a sufficient answer. There wasn't enough trust that these countries could redeem the gold in the end. And so that's when they established what they're calling the Golden Corridor, which is a series of vaults spread out geographically across the world that are independently verified by one another. This is almost like a physical blockchain where there is more verifiability and more trust built throughout the network. The reason why they're doing this is by establishing this Golden Corridor, they can actually build trust in this new gold monetary system where they're tethering the yuan directly to that gold. They're trying to make it so that all yuan can get redeemed for gold, effectively reinstating the gold standard that was abandoned by the United States in 1971. And by doing so, they're trying to turn gold into what's called a high-quality liquid asset. Those are the assets that back almost all financial obligations across the world. And right now, the only real assets that qualify are loans from the US government, treasuries. So if China is successful in establishing this Golden Corridor and getting gold to the point where it can be considered a high-quality liquid asset, then it can now transact globally with total trust without ever touching the US dollar. Something that the current global order does not support, and more importantly, something that the United States would absolutely hate. This will allow China to build out a parallel system similar to the IMF and World Bank based on its gold reserves, which it's been stacking up like absolute wildfire in 2025. And we think that this is at its core. So you can see here, as the United States rushes to support Bitcoin and stablecoins, China is rushing to support gold. And we can see two monetary systems evolving in real time. One backed by ancient trust and tradition. One backed by technology and innovation. And here you see an almost poetic competition between the US, the tech and innovation capital of the world, and China, the ancient dynasty, back at the table to try to run the world once more. Quick fact, did you know that since the 1500s, China has been the largest GDP nation in the world for over 70% of those years? From that perspective, you think about China not being the biggest country in the world as actually an aberration, a deviation from the trend. So are we going back to a world that's driven by China and gold? Maybe. Because here we are in 2025, and for the first time in the past few years, we're seeing gold sell off while Bitcoin pumps. This hasn't happened in 5 years, and it could mark a rotation from the world's largest asset into its young digital competitor, Bitcoin. As you can see, once gold starts selling off, Bitcoin is truly free to go on its mega parabolic run. We saw this in 2020 in the summer, and Bitcoin went from under $10,000 to $70,000 just 1 year later. However, now Bitcoin is institutional. It has Wall Street money behind it. There's no limit to the amount of money that can come in and support this asset with bullish sentiment and eager buyers at the highest level. But the difference here is that we don't need all the money to rotate from Bitcoin to gold. Gold is Bitcoin with wings because it's such a small asset class. With gold at nearly $30 trillion in value, experts believe that if just 3% of the money in gold rotates into Bitcoin, it would be trading over $250,000 in price. And that's why this is potentially one of the most exciting moments in the history of both Bitcoin and gold. Analyst Will Clemente says, am I hallucinating? Or are we literally watching a gold to Bitcoin rotation on the tape this morning? The charts are certainly showing gold collapsing while Bitcoin explodes. And if this is anything like the last time, we could be in for one of the biggest rises in Bitcoin history. So is Bitcoin going to replace gold? Well, certainly not. What China's doing is cementing gold into the new fabric of the modern economy. It's their way to distance themselves from the United States and the dollar, something that people once feared Bitcoin would actually do, because so much early Bitcoin activity actually was hosted in China. But now it's clear, China's plan is to go all in on gold. So is the US going to go all in on Bitcoin? Is Bitcoin going to come to represent Western values? And will we finally see rotation from the golden rock that has become the biggest asset on Earth into the modern digital equivalent? Well, I can tell you this much. If it does happen, it would represent one of the biggest moments in financial history, and you would be an absolute fool not to own some of the hardest currency on Earth, Bitcoin.